Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am back here with part 3 and the final part of the Jujutsu Kaisen review slash discussion. I'm over here, I'm in squeaky chair again. I apologize for that, but I'm in my little anime corner. I figure that may make for an interesting backdrop. I could try to spruce up the set a little bit to make it a little more interesting in the future. Um, but yeah, I just finished I just finished the series not too long ago. I apologize it took me so long to get this out. I freaking got sick again, and I just been busy with work. But I'm actually going to see the movie in about an hour, so I gotta finish, get through this. And I'll have a review out of the movie probably later today as well. So let's get started. Here's part 3, the third and final part of the season 1, because I assume there's going to be season 2 review of Jujutsu Kaisen. We're going to start with the Kyoto Goodwill event arc. This was episodes 14 through 21. So I'm just going to go through my notes like I normally do. So the first thing is that I wrote down was that the intro music, I wrote that it's not as good. It's still good. I just really like the intro song that they used up until this point, but it was a change, and I don't really mind it. I just, for some reason, I felt the need to write that down. So Itadori rejoining his friends, I felt like was a little underwhelming. I get that they kind of have this not necessarily love-hate relationship, because they do care about one another. Itadori, Nobara, and Megumi, they all care about one another, and they all like one another. But I felt like, because he had been killed back in episode like 5, I think. So, and now here we are at episode 14, and I thought it was gonna be a little more, not even like a happy-go-lucky reunion, but just like a little more like, kind of like substantial, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And it just seemed a little underwhelming to me, so I was like, I was kind of hoping for a little more. Not a big deal, but something, again, I felt the need to write down. Yoshinobu, I don't know how to pronounce it, the old guy who's like the head of the Kyoto school, I wrote, is an old baby boomer bitch. Because he's just so intent on killing Itadori just because it's principle and because he's different than us. We're gonna kill him. Like, it's a little, it gets a little old. And then I also wrote, this was before I knew of his guitar power, and now he's just like your traditional metalcore gatekeeper. Or no, not metalcore, more like Metallica dad rock, like metal gatekeeper. So I like thinking of him as like the dude that if you wore a band T-shirt, the fucking neck beard at the dive bar that you go to would be like, oh, name 5 songs from that band. Name 5 songs, and the dude, you don't even know that band. That's how I think of him. You guys should know by now that these aren't like traditional reviews. I just take notes and I talk about what I liked and didn't like about the thing. You get it. Let's see. Gojo continuing to push people's buttons will never not be funny. He, especially with this Yoshi guy, he continues to, poke the bear, and it is so funny, and it's such like a, yeah, take that dork, type moment. It's very funny. So Toto, I also wrote down Toto's vision, because Toto being, the big guy from the Kyoto school, he has this vision that shows him and Itadori like growing up together. And it just shows, one, it's very funny, and 2, it just shows that Itadori could really be friends with anyone. Because like this Toto guy, like I thought he was just like another beefy, just meathead, douchebag type character. But he actually has a lot of redemption in my eyes throughout this whole arc, and we'll definitely touch on that. But him and Itadori coming to blows at first, And then them bonding over their taste in women, which I thought was kind of silly, but it is what it is. I mean, it's anime at the end of the day. Um, but them kind of bonding over that, and again, Toto's vision shows that, wow, Itadori really could be friends with anyone. He could just like, go into anywhere and just chop it up with people. And, that's something that I've really enjoyed about Itadori's character throughout this entire show so far, is just his likability and his charm. Um, so touching more on Toto and Itadori, so their fight, the Toto and Itadori fight, was a really good fight. Uh, Probably one of my favorite fights in the show so far. A lot of like just crushing blows, cool acrobatics, and it's something that I have mentioned multiple times throughout, is whoever does the fights for the show knows combat. Because it's very fluid, but also very rigid in the fact that these two guys are both powerhouse characters and will both just like, beat the shit out of one another. And in another note I wrote is JJK needs a fighting game for sure. I put Arc System Works or Cyber Connect 2 on a Jujutsu Kaisen fighting game. They got some like mobile crossover stuff a while back, and of course a mobile game. And if there is a Jujutsu Kaisen fighting game, I don't know of it. Please let me know. It might be Japan only or something like that, but we definitely need one, because there are a lot of really good characters with a lot of really interesting abilities that I think would make for a really fun fighting game. I wrote down Baby Panda. Just that whole thing was cute. That whole like flashback into Panda and him being a little kid, little baby panda. That was cute. Um, Mekamaru was a very interesting character, and he just wants to be accepted, which I thought was like something that, even though he's a quote unquote bad guy, at the time, his first of all, his fight with Panda was also a very good fight. Um, but his like just wanting to be accepted by people, because he in reality is this, is basically constrained to like this tub. He's covered in bandages, like he really can't go outside, and he just wants people to accept him for who he is, which is something that we all, I think, can relate to. Is we all just want to be loved, we all just want to be accepted. Now, do we turn into an asshole, and do we and do we use our robot for destruction? No. So I never understood that with villains, where it's like their backstory is like, damn, that sucks. You went through a lot of hardships, but like so does everyone else. You don't have to be a dickhead. I don't know. I just, that's a common thing that anime has, and you just kind of got to accept it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, your dad left, but like so did mine. So I don't get why you got to be an asshole about it. But anyway, so yeah, a lot of great fights with a lot of meaning behind them. I mean, the Panda and Mekamaru fight had a lot of meaning. Toto and Itadori had a lot of meaning. Maki and Mai, I believe, are the two like sisters. That fight had a lot of meaning behind them. So this arc was full of, I think, probably the most combat heavy, at least in my estimation. Just maybe it just seemed more combat heavy because of its length. Maybe there were just more battles, but a lot of these battles, had a lot of meaning behind them as well. The characters fighting one another, had reasons to fight other than I'm good, you're bad, which I really appreciate. I mean, at the end of the day, we all love a good guy versus bad guy just brawl, because hey, you're a bad guy, I'm a good guy, we gotta fight. But a lot of these fights had a lot behind them, and a lot of emotion, and a lot of extra nuance behind them, which I thought was very interesting. Um, it, oh, excuse me. Super unprofessional. I am getting over being sick, so apologies. Um, So I did write that it falls into the common trope of pausing to explain things, which is again a common thing in anime. Nothing that's too crazy, but I did find it funny how how one everyone has a sob story. That's something I touched on briefly. Everyone's got something. Everyone's got some form of crazy backstory as to why they need to fight one another. But also there was one point in the Itadori and Toto versus that one demon Hanamari something I forget the that demon's name, but like Ichidori asked Toto about something about his technique, and he was like, "I don't have time to explain." But then it immediately pauses the fight to have him like do some like mental monologue of how like he needs to assess whatever, and it's like, okay, but you do have time to explain. Like if you have time to like mentally pause the fight, it's not really a big deal. That's again an anime trope, and I just thought the timing of it was funny. It's like, hey, I don't have time to explain, but I'm gonna take 10 minutes to talk about something completely different. Is that okay? Like I just thought it was funny. Um, so and that kind of leads into my next point of like, so then Itadori and Toto go from fighting one another to working together, and a lot of the students do that because the demon guys, the spirit guys, the bad guys, attack while they're doing their exercises and stuff. And it was very interesting to see the students and their techniques come together, because we got to see each student and their technique against one another, but then we got to see them use their techniques in cahoots with one another to fight a common enemy. And I thought that was really cool, because not only it was cool to see them kind of all working together, but it was also just cool to see, I guess, the build up of like, hey, this is my technique, this is my technique, and now this is both of ours working together. I just thought that was interesting. Um, yeah. So yeah, going from Itadori and Toto, friends to foes, was quick. Like it seemed a little quick to me, but it was still nice. Like, Toto, thinks of Itadori as now his best buddy and his best friend. Um, but it was nice, and it made me smile, and yeah, they definitely fought well together, for sure. That was Toto's whole like clapping thing, was so cool. That was such a really cool power to give, and like the trade off of like, okay, now I'm here, I'm a swap with Itadori, now I'm a swap with the bad guy. That was really cool. And again, another very fluid fight. It takes a lot of planning to be like, to not only have the two characters fight one another, but you have three characters, and you have constant movement of characters between their spots. So that must have taken a lot of time and a lot of effort to like really make that a very fluid thing, which I thought was really cool. So definitely, I think one of the breakout stars for this arc was Toto. He definitely grew on me. Again, I mentioned previously when he was first introduced, I thought he was just going to be another kind of meathead, boring kind of douchebag character. But he definitely grew on me throughout the course of this arc. I thought, some of his interactions with Itadori were very funny and kind of heartwarming, and his combat and his skills and combat prowess was really cool. And then the last thing I wrote for the Kyoto Goodwill event arc was the baseball at the end was a nice touch. I'm a big sports guy. Sports anime is probably one of my favorite genres of anime. So it was a nice little touch, and it was definitely fun, to see kind of these kids who do these crazy supernatural things, have a moment to kind of be like, all right, we're just going to play some baseball. We're just going to do something normal. And I just think that's fun. And like I said, a nice touch. So yeah, that was the Kyoto Goodwill event arc. Surprisingly long, not surprisingly long, but surprisingly, even though it was a long arc and the longest of the show, I feel like I didn't have much of substance come out of it. I definitely had a lot of fights where I was like, oh, that was cool. Oh, that was cool. That was cool. But like, not anything like super crazy, which isn't necessarily bad. I mean, sometimes just like a good fight, or in this case, a good few fights, is all you need. Um, I hope I explained it fairly well. But it was basically just one good fight after the next, and some other little stuff kind of splattered in there. The death painting arc, which is the last arc that we're talking about, the last arc of season one, definitely kicked it up a notch when it came to like the overall, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the overall meaning behind everything, if that makes sense. The overall just kind of, I don't know what the stuff means something, I guess. I mean, let me just try to explain here. So uh so the death painting arc starts out with a lot of good stuff about Megami. I feel like he's a character. I mean, he's one of the main characters, and yet he's somebody that we didn't really know a whole lot about coming into the death painting arc. But it starts out very much kind of centered on him, which I really appreciated because he's a very cool character. So the first thing I pointed out was, so it starts out with these guys like getting killed by these spirits, and they all went to the same middle school, and they were all cursed at some point in time. And I noted that Megami, went to the same middle school as them. I wonder if he'll have a curse later on. I don't think so, because like the specific thing was like, yeah, they all went to the same middle school, but it was the specific moment in time that like cursed them, and then the curse kind of sat with them later on. Um, so I don't know if that'll affect Megami. I just thought it might be interesting, if it happens to affect him. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Um, so yeah, I wrote. We learned a lot about Megami. His schooling, his sister, um, who we didn't know he even had a sister, but now we do, and she's cursed. So I'm very curious to see how that will come into play next season, because unfortunately, spoiler alert. I assume all this is spoilers, um, but he wasn't able to like fully uncurse his sister, and I feel like for how big or important it was to Megami, I don't know if maybe it's just because Jujutsu Kaisen overall is shorter than other shows. Like this season was 24 episodes instead of 50 or 100 like some other anime. Um, but like I kept forgetting he had a sister, and then he mentioned her like at the end, like, oh, she's still cursed or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that sucks. I hope we figure that out. Um, but it will be interesting to see going forward. um, I also wrote down, I love seeing Megami, Itadori, and Nobara work together. Um, I think the three of them really came to, have fully come together as a group, and it's not something we get to see often. I mean, there was that one instance like early on in the early on in the series, and then Itadori died, and then he was separated from them for a while. And then the Goodwill event arc happened, and they were kind of all of their classmates were kind of working together. So we didn't really get to see a lot of like the team of Megami, Itadori, and Nobara working together, and they do that in spades throughout the death painting arc, and I thought that was very interesting and cool, and it put a smile on my face for sure. Because these are three really well written characters who really respect and work well with one another. So it was nice to see their camaraderie and their kind of in their jokes, and also just the fact that they were able to fight and work well together. Um, so I also really liked how things tied back into the series, regardless of how small they were. Um, so like Megami in the baseball game, which again I liked because I was like, oh, this is fun baseball. But then they kind of tied it back when in a flashback, Gojo was talking to Megami about like, hey, why did you bunted, and Itadori just swang away. He just kept swinging away, but like Megami bunted. It's like, is that yeah, a bunt is valuable because it helps your team in a way. It helps advance the runner, but like you gotta be able to like push yourself, and you gotta be able to extend your own limits so that you can reach your potential. And I was like, damn, that's pretty interesting. Like this one little moment that seemed kind of insignificant. It seemed like kind of a goof one off, like, oh, they're playing baseball. Haha, that's so funny. And it was goofy. But like, I didn't know at the time that this little thing meant kind of a big deal to Megami. Like, and it had a very interesting effect to be like, oh damn, like, and he's sitting there like, oh damn, I did do that, like maybe I gotta surpass my own limits, and it leads to him doing that. And there were other instances of like it tying back, flashbacks of Nobara and Itadori, typical anime flashback moments, but they were specific. They were flashbacks that were specific to things that they were currently doing in like the final fight or whatever. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's like instead of just like a typical anime flashback to kind of bring some story to the forefront, which is good. I'm not like ragging on those types of flashbacks, but these flashbacks that I'm referring to were like, this is why this thing is happening right now. And if you remember, we did this a few episodes or back in the first episode, and then now it's coming ahead. It's like the seeds were planted and now the tree or the flower is blooming, sort of a deal. If that makes any sense. And I thought that was really great writing and great attention to detail and just really interesting storytelling. So anyway, back to Megami. So it definitely was a fun moment to see him finally kind of lose it. When he's laughing. He was all this whole series has been very stoic, very reserved, and when he kind of has that realization with the baseball thing and whatever, he does his oh gosh, what's the name of it? The concealed art? No, it's not that. The you guys know the plane. I'm not good with names. The plane thing where it expands out and it like traps someone in their domain or whatever. And he's kind of cackling, he's kind of laughing, he's got these big old buggy eyes, and it's like, damn, this is something we've never seen out of this character. And now here it is, it's happening. And I was like, that's crazy. That's like, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see this kind of completely different side of this character that we haven't seen yet. So then after that, they go and they fight this other guy, and who has a bad back. And I wrote down, having a bad back has got to be one of the funniest anime powers. And it's not like a bad back, like oh, it hurts, my back is bad. It was like he's got this other weird like face on his back, and it's like gross, and he doesn't want anyone to see it. And then that's where like his power comes from. But I just think like, because I just being a joking guy, being a comedian myself, I enjoy a good play on words. So it's like my back, you see, my back is bad. Not like it hurts, but it's a bad guy. I got a bad guy on my back, and you shouldn't see him. You shouldn't see him because he's a bad egg, and he's gonna spit blood at you or whatever. I just thought that was funny. So I mentioned that. So it ends with Nobara and Itadori fighting the bad back guy and this other little creature thing, and they're apparently all brothers or something. First of all, Nobara's straw doll technique is metal as fuck because she was like stabbing herself because this guy like hit them with the blood, and it like would have killed them, but she was like, hey, if I'm gonna kill me, I'm gonna kill you too. Like, let's see what happens, type deal. Like, only I can kill me. Only I can kill me. And that's metal as fuck. And also, it came in clutch. And honestly, the whole fight with them served as a really nice victory lap. I mean, that's where we got a lot of good flashbacks that I had mentioned. Them kind of working together. They were fighting. They were each fighting a different brother, and then they switched, and that was a cool thing to see. And it was definitely a good victory lap of like, okay, these are all the events that we've talked about in the series so far. This is all the stuff that's happened. This is what it's led up to. Itadori and Nobara working together, came in clutch because like they don't always see eye to eye, but it also is like, hey, we're partners, we're pals now, and we're working well together, and we're doing good. And yeah, I think it was just honestly a victory lap for the show to be like, hey, we came out on top, we did this, watch this cool ass fight. These are all the pieces that you've been experiencing so far, and here they are. Bam, boom, bam, boom. It was very cool. And so yeah, that fight was really cool at the end there against, I don't even know their names. I don't even know if they said. Maybe they did and I just missed it. And it makes me interested to see how this third brother, because we already have Mahito and we have the other guy. I'm so bad with names. I forget his name. I'm sorry. Like long hair type guy. He was with Gojo a while back in the restaurant. But we have those two, and now we have this third guy who was the eldest brother of these two brothers that Itadori and Nobara had to kill. So now we have like another potential like pretty powerful villain that they're gonna have to fight. So it ends with some interesting plot points and some villains revealed, and it makes me really excited for season 2, honestly. I'm pretty sure that they're going to do a season 2. I mean, there is more of the manga, like the Shibuya arc was something that a lot of y'all recommended. And that's not dubbed yet, or not animated yet, at least to my knowledge. So we'll see what happens there. But it makes me very excited. Jujutsu Kaisen was such a wonderful surprise. I figured it would be good, but I didn't really know how good it would be. And I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with y'all about it. I know again, reviews are very much just like, hey, this is a thing I like. I didn't like that thing, but this thing was cool. So they're very much more discussions than reviews, but review is a lot more catchy of a title. So that's why I call them that. But anyway, I am going to leave soon to go see the movie, and I'll get a video out on that probably tonight if my voice holds up. If not tonight, tomorrow. And hopefully you guys enjoy that, and hopefully you guys enjoy this as well. Thank you so much for coming along with me. I've received a lot of really nice comments on the first 2 parts of this series, and yeah, I have a lot of stuff, manga I'm reviewing, some other anime stuff I might take a look at, and other videos in general. So if you like anything you see, I would greatly appreciate your subscription and your comments and likes and gosh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna end it here. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate everything. This series has been a lot of fun to do, and I am very excited to do season 2 when it's available. But until then, I have a bunch of other stuff. Feel free to watch that, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.